It's that sound. You know the one, everyone dreads it. You're driving, a rock kicks up, and oh, crack. Your first thought is always, okay, how much is this going to hurt my wallet? Especially if you're in, say, Morristown, New Jersey.
Yeah, it's that emergency you never budget for. And to figure it out, we're looking at a pricing guide from a company called Windshield Replacement LLC. They actually service that exact area.
And our mission here isn't just to get a price, it's to understand why. Why two people in the same town could get their windows fixed on the same day and get, wildly different bills.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
The data really shows that auto glass, it isn't a simple commodity anymore. The final price depends on all these variables you might not even know your car has.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. The raw numbers from the guide. A side window gets smashed. What am I looking at, ballpark?
For a side window in Morristown, the guide puts the typical range somewhere between $150 and maybe $400.
Sure.
But if we're talking about the windshield, that's where the variance gets much, much wider. You're looking at maybe $200 on the low end, but it can easily go up to $600, maybe even more.
Wow. That's a huge spread, a 300% difference.
It is. But the guide breaks down why. It really starts with just the make and model.
Right.
So if you're driving like an older Honda Civic, you probably have standard glass. It's a pretty straightforward job. That's your $200 repair.
But if I'm in something newer, like a BMW or a Mercedes...
Then you're not just buying a piece of glass. You're buying a piece of tech. The source points out all these features, like rain sensors, heated elements for the wipers, heads-up displays.
I think people forget that if your car projects your speed onto the glass, you can't just, slap a generic pane in there. It has to have specific optical properties, right?
Exactly. And that leads to what the document says is the single biggest cost driver.
A day desk.
Advanced driver assistance systems, right? All your lane departure warnings, the automatic emergency braking. Those systems use cameras, and those cameras are usually mounted right behind your rear view mirror.
Looking through the windshield.
Looking directly through it. So if that new glass is installed even a millimeter off...
The car doesn't know where the lane lines are.
Precisely. And that's why the cost is higher. You're not just paying for glass installation. You're paying for calibration. The guide is very clear that this is a safety requirement. It's not some optional add-on.
So it's almost like a software update that comes with the hardware. Now, what about the Morristown part of this? The guide specifically mentions location.
It does. They note that labor costs in Morris County tend to be a bit higher than in other parts of New Jersey.
Is that just a local markup, or is there a reason for it?
Well, the source sort of frames it as a trade-off. Quality versus risk. Higher labor costs often mean you're getting a more experienced technician.
And with glass, I imagine experience is everything.
It really is. If you go with cheap labor, you risk things like wind noise or, worse, water leaks that can cause rust down the line.
And I'm guessing a shoddy installation could mess up all that safety tech we just talked about.
Oh, absolutely. If that camera angle is off by just a fraction of a degree because of a bad install, the whole safety system can fail. The real insight here is that the premium you might pay in Morristown is for getting it right the first time.
Okay, so if you're in Morris County, and this is a problem you're dealing with right now, this data came from Windshield Replacement LLC. They're based out of Newark, but they cover the whole area.
That's right. They say their goal is transparent pricing. You can find them at windshieldreplacementllc.com, or their number is 862-400-3780.
My biggest takeaway from this is just reframing how I think about my car. A cracked windshield isn't just a cosmetic problem anymore.
No, not at all. It's a failure in the vehicle's sensor array, really.
Which leaves us with a final thought then. If the windshield is now part of the car's operating system, at what point does glass repair stop being bodywork and actually become, computer repair?
I think you could argue we've already crossed that line.
Something to think about. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Drive safe.